Hope everyone's doing well and welcome back to another weekly outlook. So cool. It's the first video of two today that I'll be making. It's been a relatively slow, I'd say 2 weeks for us in the mentorship. We haven't really caught anything crazy. We've had a few sort of failed setups where, we didn't really enter, but the setup sort of fell apart, didn't get the entry, and, a few other things. But it's nothing to worry about, right? Weather's been great if you guys are from the UK, so it's always a good excuse to get outside, get a bit of a break from the charts. But today's weekly outlook, we're going to explore a couple new pairs, or rather new markets, and of course that will also lead into the next video as well for the mentorship. So cool, let's get started with the economic calendar. This week coming up, we have the big mover. We have CPI on the Tuesday, nothing going on the Monday really. On the Wednesday, we don't have much. And then on the Thursday, we're jam-packed with a few more news events. We've got PPI, which it can potentially be a significant mover. GDP for the dollar, for the pound, and Powell speaking as well. So this is a New York session where I'd be careful. You realistically would not be trading until both of these events have passed. They're only 10 minutes apart, right? And then on the Friday, we have consumer sentiment, the end of the week. Right? So all in all, not a bad week. I'd expect expansion, likely from the Tuesday, early week. So let's get into what we expect. Start out on the monthly candle. We know about 10 days into the month. The way the monthly candle is right now, it's an inside candle. It's not giving us anything. There's no direction. It's, very sort of just half and half candle. Nothing clear. Come down to the weekly, what we see is, okay, prices tagged this weekly fair value gap. We've dipped into this quite a bit. And based on that previous weekly closure, again, it doesn't leave us very certain in direction. But one thing that I would be certain of is that this is likely a bearish order block being created. This is the move against the trend. And once this move up is done, wherever it wants to be done, then we see the expansion back to these lows. Right, as you guys can see, the OT is marked. It's marked as that range for a reason. Come down to the daily and we start to get a little bit clearer. Now we start seeing, okay, accumulation and a bit of a kick up. And lastly, we come down to the 4 hour and we see this is a clear-cut case of accumulation, what seems to be manipulation, and we be anticipating distribution this way. Now, in the coming week, what I would expect, and I think is very likely, is that we get a previous weekly high. I think we run this high on the dollar that currently stands in the market. Once this is run, right, I believe right above this, yep, we have a daily fair value gap and the equilibrium of the range. Just wait in there, and it's likely we will tag this, and from there I want to see the move. If and when that sort of move gets started to go back to these lows where the AMD is now fully in play, it's likely whichever high we make here now will be the high of the month. That's what I would sort of bet my money on. Well, about halfway through the month, we'll have CPI, significant news driver. If we get pushed down and, we're making that high in a daily sort of OTE/premium, then it's not bad by any means. The reason we use this high, right, this high specifically is because, of course, it was the last clearest swing high in the market. Technically, we have a high slightly lower, right? If we work off of this swing high, we are already sitting, at the equilibrium level. And regardless, right, the point that essentially I'm trying to make here is that it's sort of valid area for us to be shorting from soon enough, right? As the week opens, let's let the new week run the high, previous weekly high out of the market, and then we see that expansion towards the downside. Then yeah, nothing interesting, I'm afraid. I've already had a look at this one. Just, stuck in that tight range. Honestly, that's really it. It's just gone up, down, up, down, up, down, same thing. It's made that retracement, going back up. I wouldn't really bet on it to, hunt the high all the way here again. If anything, I would assume it maybe kicks a little bit higher and then just goes back down in again, right? So not much for us to go off of or use here. So EURUSD, nice. So it's tagged the weekly fair value gap that we wanted, but it has not made an attempt to move away just yet, right? From here, I would favor higher prices. I do want to see price go higher. What is likely in the coming week is that we sweep the previous weekly low. right? I think we tagged that, and then we come into this weekly order, right? We start pushing towards here. Now this is very low on the range, right? I'm not anticipating price will necessarily come and tap this, and that's it. Instant bounce. We'd have to watch and see how price wants to react. If we can get an early previous weekly low sweep and then a move up, then it makes our life a little easier. Then we can start thinking about longs back to the highs. That's what price wants, right? But from the looks of it, you know, it's not the clearest at the moment, especially when we come out on a monthly time frame. It's not telling us much right now. I know we have that giant wick, and typically with these giant wicks, when you got a wick like this, you'd expect the next sort of following candle to move away. But you know, Euro GBP is a bit of a weird pair like that. It can, you know, it can do some magic, have fireworks sometimes. I'll just be very patient here. We're in an area where we essentially want to look for longs, but for us to look for longs, previous weekly low swept, real nice kick up on the 4 hour here, seeing some sort of market structure shift, then we have very, very easy targets to pick off and for price to, you know, sort of push through. So now, of course, if we're bearish on the DXY, we become bullish Euro GBP. That should set up Euro USD for us. Right? And we'd be going long the Euro USD. As you guys can see, I've already got this target mark, daily fair value gap. That's well for a second. Daily fair value gap, which lines up with DXY's daily fair value gap. If price can, again, you know, DXY is taking the previous weekly high, Euro USD takes the previous weekly low, tags this daily fair value gap, right? Respects this range, then we're looking for price to come back to these highs. In terms of high time frame targets, of course, we know what we want to see with DXY for now is that high here. There's a lot of, you know, smaller liquidity targets on the Euro USD. This is the next sort of buy side target I would mark out. I'd be watching for weekly buy side liquidity setting how about 1.17, which is quite far away to be fair. That's a lot of pips. Then again, it's a weekly time frame. We come on the daily, same thing. There's not much to go off of. The next target is still this, you know, it's the next obvious high. If DXY gives a real kick, then it's you know it's not out of the marks. It's definitely very possible for Euro USD to start making its way up there. Bitcoin finally has moved. I know all the crypto guys are happy. It's sitting at 105k, even though I didn't know that right now. That is crazy. So cool. Let's come out on a monthly. Start with very nice monthly candle close for April, as we knew. From here, we expected, yes, the next candle will trade higher, right? Past that, specifically what we wanted to see. Okay, let's leave this candle as a fair value gap, and price can return to this for a potential IO fed. Now, price did not do that. It had just skyrocketed from here. The way this candle has closed, price seems to really be reaching for that buy side target. I would bet from here, right, that price continues higher. We don't see any sort of major retracement back down to this 92k level just yet. Right? I don't believe we have a reason to, unless we get some sort of flash crash where they want to, you know, sweep out everyone. From the looks of it, I'd be focusing on this daily fair value gap instead, very large fair value gap, and seeing if price can trade into this area around the 100k. Because now, right, especially with retail, you know, if we go for like sort of retail trading and psychology, we flipped that 100k level. So if price can now come back and touch that 100k and respect it, everybody will think, oh yeah, that's a new support. Let's go. It's gonna bounce, and from there, it's likely that it will bounce. Right? That's how they'll engineer the liquidity, and then possibly at a later date, we will come and re-sweep that after taking, I would say, the buy side liquidity over here. But yeah, all-time high is definitely on the charts again. It's, you know, it's right there. It's literally about 5k away, less than a 5% move for Bitcoin. I think it will happen very, very soon, maybe even in the coming week. And even past that sort of long term, right? You guys know we spoke about bigger targets. I'll just mark out the round numbers, just keep it simple, right? 110, 115, 120, etc. Right? Just see that's how I'd expect price to be sort of climbing. In terms of if you are in positions or you want to cash out of positions, and just generally, if there's ever sort of a flash pump and price has a very sharp move up and you're in positions and you wanted to cash out, that's usually a good time to cash out, because what comes after a flash pump is usually some sort of big retracement, you know, consolidation, then a big move back down. So yeah, we'll be watching the chart closely anyways. Yeah, S&P. start out on a monthly. So as you guys know, we said with that sort of big move from this candle, we'd expect the next candle to trade higher. But at a bare minimum, we'd like to see the previous monthly higher taken. If you come out on a weekly chart, we want to see price work higher, especially how these candles have closed. There's no reason for us to be bearish. Not a great weekly candle last week, by the way. But we've put in somewhat of a swing in the market, right? We had a range for price from this low to high. Price didn't reach the equilibrium or discount. There is a chance we can come and resweep this. But for the time being, I would favor price to just run higher. Run towards this buy side, these equal highs, and then these equal highs. That's the sort of scenario. In the short term, I do think we go past this as well. But just for now, I don't want to see price run higher. But as I said, this is somewhat of an accumulation and we've got a very clear swing low here. It would not surprise me if price was to come and sweep this. So A, M, and then distribution this way. Right? That's also a scenario in the cards. Either way, we're bullish. Right? It may just run from here. It gives us that sweep and runs ideally. We'll also look at futures contract, NASDAQ. Very similar. I'm not sure why this blue stuff comes up. If anyone knows how to get rid of it, let me know below. But very similar chart, right? Especially starting the monthly, it's what you'd expect anyways. But NASDAQ has already ran the previous monthly high. I do think it runs higher from here. We've got very similar targets to the S&P. Bit of a better weekly close. And if you look at the range for me seems to be a slight bit clearer, and the buy side target seems to just shows us that, you know, NASDAQ is that bit more bullish than the S&P if you want to be long it. Right. From here, very, very similar scenario, but we've got that 4-hour consolidation. We've got a nice clear low range. I'd expect price to run higher. But from the looks of it, again, and this is a big reason why I'm very 50-50 about the scenario, I'd support price from here just running to this. It's been the next immediate target, which is about 20.5k on the NASDAQ for some sort of retrace. If price stalls and we stay a bit sideways, we have CPI coming up, then of course that scenario is still on the cards of sweeping the low first and going higher. It's very similar to the S&P, right? Then last chart I want to look at. Of course, you guys know, very, very bullish chart. I'm sure everyone's heard it. So we have gold. Very nice large move up last month before that as well, and this weekly candle, monthly candle is an inside candle at the moment, right? It's not giving us much just yet, but I'm sure all of you guys have heard of the India-Pakistan war news. Now I know the war news has sort of calmed down to an extent, okay? They've agreed on a alleged ceasefire. I would bet that it's not the sort of end of events. You know, hopefully it is. We don't like war. But just, you know, realistically, I would expect tensions to stay sort of sparked and things to be a bit back and forth. And the more tension there is, especially politically and economically, we will see gold push higher. It's just how it works, right? Gold is a safe haven asset. People will flock to gold when there's, you know, uncertainty in the markets. And that's what happens when there's war and all these other countries start speaking, getting involved, and all these little things start happening. So I'm definitely watching gold, and I think it's a good chart to, you know, try and long in right now. Now, where I stand on gold, I do think, right, but in this daily fair value gap, we did hit the discount. I want to see price go higher, right? I want to see it run back towards this all-time high. But the way it started to now shape up, if we don't get a real sort of kick on the 4-hour here, there's a good chance we may trade, I'd say, to these lows, right? Run into this discount before the run up again. And the only reason being, right, this is our sort of weekly range. And if we look at how the previous week closed, I'd expect this to be an order block and then, of course, to run higher. But one thing we failed to do is actually tap into this weekly fair value gap. So this can be liquidity engineered for the weekly fair value gap for us to trade lower, tap this, and now you've got a bunch of buy side engineered over here as well, and then back up to that. But yeah, this is definitely the low I would not expect to go in the market. And in terms of the lower time frame, if we can get a kick up here, then we can work off of this 4-hour and anticipate this to be the new swing low if this stays in the market and price to trade higher from here. But it's just something I'll be watching closely. I think fundamentally the bias is there, that we're bullish. We just want to see, you know, where are we given the displacement from? Where are we given the best opportunity to sort of position ourselves for longs, work back towards this all-time high. But yeah, guys, that is it for the weekly outlook. As usual, any questions, anything I can help with, just drop a message below.